I know.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hey, I can get real aggressive with this gavel, so. Normally, when we commence our meetings, we allow a little more time for people to enjoy their breakfast and to socialize. But I tell you, we are so time pressed this morning, we just want to plow through our club business and get to the nitty gritty up here. So call to order, and please salute the flag. Rise and salute the flag. It's over here in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Someday. Thank you. Welcome. My name is Connie Menifee, and I am president of the Pacifica Daly City Democrats. And we have a couple members who are absent today, but present. We have James Crow in the back. He is our treasurer. And we have Judy Heldberg, our secretary. And she's also bringing cards to me. I want to welcome all the candidates. Thank you so much for participating. We've aligned you across the front of the room alphabetically, but Sue Beckmeyer noted that I was successful in bookending the beautiful women in blue here. so that worked, yeah, blue wave. That worked out well.
Another example of Pacifica rocking.
Yes. So, normally I endeavor to introduce local dignitaries and things like that, but I'm really on speed this morning. I do want to point out Mark Hirschman with Jerry Hill's office, because Jerry Hill is scheduled, and you better remind him, Mark, scheduled to speak in November. We lined that up quite a while ago. So that's November, State Senator Jerry Hill. But as for now, thank you to all the attendees, the visitors, our club members, and all our local dignitaries. So normally, this would be when I make my witty comments, as regular club members know, about recent political happenings. Lord knows there's plenty of material, such as Trump's reactions to Bob Woodward's new book, appropriately titled Fear, and the anonymous New York Times op-ed piece, Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing, Manafort's guilty plea and cooperation agreement. Well, maybe afterwards we can have those discussions, because for right now, I'm going to quickly plow through club business so that we can get to the questions for the candidates. We've distributed index cards. And while I'm conducting business and we're having our introductory comments, please submit your cards, get them to the front of the room. Write your questions down, print large and legibly, and please pose succinct questions. I will do my best to cull the duplicates and categorize the questions so that we can cover as many of the major issues facing Pacifica as possible. So, brief announcements. We're also circulating a FogFest sign-up sheet. The club has a booth at the FogFest, September 29th and 30th. And we've got a lot filled already, but we do need some people for some available Sunday afternoons. Oh, thank you. I thought it was, okay. I stand corrected by my secretary. Saturday afternoon slots are available. Today in the afternoon, there's a Sea Level Rise public workshop at the community center. It is immediately after this morning's meeting. I know quite a few people here, John Keener has already mentioned too, that they're going to have to get out of here to attend the sea level rise meeting this afternoon. So very quickly, and only dues-paying members may vote. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? These were distributed via email. Any revisions or additions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month's August meeting? Second?
Second.
Voice vote, dues-paying members, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Next, did everyone, I hope, receive and review via email August Treasurer's Report? If there are, silence your phones, please. If there are not any revisions or corrections, do I have a motion to accept the August meeting Treasurer's Report?
So moved.
What?
So moved.
Oh, but we have to have the motion, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I am not the queen of Robert's orders, I'll tell you that. Okay, so don't we need a voice vote? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. All right, so let me move on to introducing distributed announcements. Okay, so here are this morning's ground rules for the candidates forum. Candidates will each have 2 minutes for opening statements and then 2 minutes to answer the same question posed to all candidates, with each taking turns at being the first, second, third, etc. We just put everybody up here alphabetically. Our timekeeper, who is the Secretary Judy Hellberg, will hold green, yellow, and red signs to assist the candidates in keeping track of their time. So as you can see, you'll start speaking, and then at green, either Mr. Hellberg or Mrs. Hellberg will flash the green, 1 minute left, yellow, 30 seconds left, red, stop. And everybody stop so that we can move to the next candidate and be as efficient as possible. As the Q&A draws to a close, each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing remarks. Kindly save your applause and your enthusiasm for your candidate, plural, I hope, until the end of the program. So turning to our candidates, first of all, thank you so much for participating. It's great to have all 7 of you here this morning. This is truly democracy at work, and it allows me to channel my inner Oprah. No cards. In your opening statements, first introduce yourselves, and then kindly begin by telling us about past and current associations, accomplishments, and contributions here in Pacifica that particularly qualify you to address Pacifica's pressing problems and concerns. So we'll begin Alpha with Sue Beckmeyer.
Good morning, I'm Sue Beckmeyer. Oh, should I do the, don't use these.
Hopefully it'll work.
It will.
Good morning, I'm Sue Beckmeyer. For more than 25 years, I've lived and worked in Pacifica. I know the town well, and I've developed strong relationships through leadership positions in the Pacifica Library Foundation, the Pacifica Lions Club, Rotary Club of Pacifica, and many school-based organizations and fundraising activities for music programs and other critical needs in our schools. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I believe strongly in the ideals of equality, non-discrimination, and free speech. I believe there's a place for everyone in a civil society, and it's important to focus on the areas where we agree, not so much focusing on our differences. I hold an MBA and Master of Library Science degree, and I would be honored to contribute my knowledge and skills by working for you on City Council. Thank you.
Hold your applause to the end, okay? After all introductory statements, everybody can, yippee!
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mary Beer. I'm a lifelong resident of Pacifica. I am the director for the Pacifica Prevention Partnership, a special program of Jefferson Union High School District. I've been doing substance abuse prevention in our community since 2005 when an alcohol-related accident took the lives of my nephew and his girlfriend. So I've been doing countywide prevention work for quite a long time now. I'm also the facilitator for the Pacifica Collaborative, whose mission it is to connect people and share resources to enrich our community. They're also a part of the North County Outreach Collaborative, which connects people to services and meets people where they are at with warm handoffs and relationships. I am on the Park, Beach, and Recreation Commission. I'm happy to say it's my 3rd year on the commission, and it's been a really great experience for me. Over the years, I've successfully secured over $1.5 million in grant funding to do prevention work in our community. I have successfully advocated and drafted policy across the county. I really feel that equity should be at the forefront of all of our decisions and all of our conversations. I also feel like we can all come together with opposing views and lead with a common goal to have a community that is vibrant, inclusive, and healthy. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Hi, I'm just going to stand because I want to see everybody. I'm Bridget Duffy. This is the 2nd time I've run for City Council, so I'm not going to go into too many details. People who know me as a good guy. People who don't know me have a lot of other ideas about me. But mostly I am here because I don't know if anybody's noticed, but there's some hanky-panky going on within government. Our elections have been tampered with very seriously. It's a very serious issue that we are only really just finding out the tip of the iceberg. I ran recently for state assembly, mostly out of curiosity, journalistic curiosity. And I can tell you that I should be on November's ballot as a choice for you as an assembly person. But in 2010, most of the people that are in government now passed a law that said only the top 2 vote getters can get on the ballot in November. Prior to that, it had been the top vote getter from 6 different political parties in California. So basically, you would have a choice between the top vote getter who's a Democrat and the top vote getter who was a Green, and the top voter getter was a Libertarian. But the choice was removed from us in 2010 by the very people who sit in these offices today. And we have in our city government the same type of situation. We have people who are unwilling to address the elections tampering issue and do something about it. And I think that's our top priority as Americans, and we gotta get it done.
Good morning. My name is Vicky Florence. I'm a lifelong Pacifican. My family's been here over 50 years. Some say I know where all the bodies are buried. I've grown up in this community, went to school here at Sharp Park, which is now IBL, graduated at Oceana High School. I was the opening manager for the Taco Bell that we all know and love in Lenore. I also managed the Denny's that we all missed, that was across the street. So I've served this community for quite some time. I have a background in technology, working with Microsoft, and I have a background in finance, working with Goldman Sachs. I have been here my entire life. I love this community. My top concerns are affordable housing, sea level rise plan that makes sense, and having a safe place for our teens to gather. And top is economic development. I love this community. I care about this community. I have served this community for a very long time. And I want to continue that with your support. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Keener. I'm a sitting council member, and this year I'm mayor, as you all know. And my record for the last 4 years, while I've been on council, speaks for itself, I think, to most of you. I would highlight one thing, and that is that I'm a fiscal moderate. I watched the nickels, dimes, quarters, and millions of dollars that go before me in the budget. As something else that probably is not so well known to this audience is my participation in Peninsula Clean Energy. That is the recently formed organization that's about 3 years old that supplies electricity to most of you and all of San Mateo County. It is greener and cheaper than PG&E. And I'm a founding board member. I serve on the Power Purchase Agreement Ad Hoc Committee and put in a lot of work there. And these purchase agreements are rather large, $500 million over 30 years, that sort of thing. Large solar farms and wind farms. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I assume we'll get on to the other issues as we progress further in this debate. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike O'Neill. I think most of the people here in the room know me. I'm kind of like a bad penny, and I turn up every 4 years on the ballot. I've been an elected official in Pacifica for 20 years. What have I done for Pacifica is what Pacifica has done for me. It's blessed me by being able to raise a family, my 3 children that are all now adults, here in Pacifica with good schools, which was, I wouldn't say entirely because of me, but I was part of the team that remodeled 6 schools on time and on budget. I've also had the fun and the opportunity to be Santa Claus every year in Rockaway, except 2. I've also been able to be in the Spindrift Players, so it's the culture in Pacifica that we want to maintain, the lifestyle in Pacifica we want to maintain. However, there are challenges ahead that we need to take and deal with. And we need to deal with them in a professional, logical, reality-based way of doing business. I have relationships with the state, county, and federal. I've been endorsed by 4 out of 5 supervisors, both of our state-led representatives, Jerry Hill and Kevin Mullen, and also by Jackie Spear at the federal level. I have relationships I've cultivated over the past 20 years, and I think it's important that we do that. And my time is up. Thank you.
Just going to stand so that everybody can see me. Hi, my name is Annika Shaw Porter, and I'm running for City Council. So a little about myself. I'm a mother, and I'm a married wife. I've been married to my beautiful and wonderful, loving husband here for more than 10 years. We're college sweethearts. I work for the state. I work at CERM, which is California's stem cell agency, and I serve as a county commissioner. I serve on the Commission for the Healthcare for the Homeless and Farm Workers Board. I myself have lived in this community for just a few years, but my husband and my father-in-law, who's over there enjoying some coffee, have been in this community for more than 40 years. And I feel like the reason why I really wanted to get into this race is because I feel like we're at this really unique fork in the road, where we have the opportunity to not necessarily just put Pacifica back on track, but also to create an entirely new vision. I'm the mother, I'm not the mother, I'm the daughter of a single mother. My dad was a veteran, a Vietnam veteran, and I didn't grow up around the corner from the beach. I didn't get to have school choice. I think these things are really important, and part of the reason why my husband and I wanted to set down roots here in the city. And this year, when I saw a lot of the issues that were plaguing us, we're facing bankruptcy, our streets are a mess, economic development is stalled. And for other people that are renters like myself, we rent at a very high rate and would love to become homeowners in this community, but it's just out of reach, and we all want that American dream. So for me, I'm running because I saw this blue wave of women who decided to roll up their sleeves and put their voices in the ring. And I wanted to do this for my kids. I wanted to be the person that built a world for them here in Pacifica that they can grow up in, return to, and ultimately own a home in. Thank you.
Thank you. The submitted questions, they're really falling into line, as you can well imagine. It's not as difficult a task as I had feared. So the first question, and I guess we will start with Sue Beckmeyer and move in that direction. I'm going to try and consolidate questions. What is your position regarding the inclusion of managed retreat in Pacifica's updated local coastal plan? Is there a conflict between supporting Beach Boulevard and Palmetto development plans and managed retreat? And I think that gets you started.
How many minutes?
An hour and a half.
Yeah, hour and a half, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. My position on including managed retreat in our local coastal plan is that I do not support it. I am concerned about the idea of including a strategy that will have immediate impact when we're talking about addressing something that is far down the line. I'm not saying that there is not sea level rise. I know there's sea level rise. But the data that have been put into the draft plan that I've seen show that we would have about 99.5% unlikely to have the devastating effects that have been talked about. I understand concern and I understand fear, and I think that's driving a lot of what is going on with managed retreat. I've heard people, some on the community working group, come up with suggestions of sea level rise of 10 feet in the next 100 years. It doesn't seem reasonable to me. What I know is that as soon as the city adopts a plan that states managed retreat as one of our adaptation strategies, we will see an impact for all of us, not just the folks who live on the coast. We will see people's property values go down. We will see insurance costs go up. We will see a difficulty in securing funding. So, is there a conflict between advocating for development on Beach Boulevard and managed retreat? You bet there is. I think we need to continue to support our seawall. We need to continue to rebuild and protect West Sharp Park, and we need to develop so that we can raise some funds to keep our city fiscally secure. Thanks.
So I've been talking to lots and lots of people and knocking on doors, and I know the fear that is out there, and I really want to recognize that. We are in this together, right? We are doing the research together. Today, this afternoon, we get to review policies together. And I think it's really important for people to understand that my first and foremost goal would be to protect people, property, and businesses. It's very important that we do that as we come together as a community. You know, coastside cities are going to be fighting for federal funds. We have to have a plan in place that's approved by the Coastal Commission in order to go after those funds. So again, I am for protecting our people, our property, and our businesses. Do I think there's a conflict with the Beach Boulevard and Palmetto development? No, because if you look at the plan that's in place right now, not in place, but the plan that we're reviewing, And the policies that have just been submitted to us, you don't see managed retreat in any of those policies. So look over the policies very carefully and move forward from there. And that's what I believe in, so thank you.
Hi. So for one thing, I'd like to get this out of the way. I was at the last sea level rise meeting and I tried to ask a question. I wasn't allowed to ask the question, but the question was, is it true that there has been no measurable sea level rise in Pacifica? And the answer was, I went to the environmental scientists that were there. The answer is yes, we haven't had any measurable sea rise in Pacifica. We do have erosion, however. We have a bad erosion problem down by Esplanade. The cliff is eroding at 5 feet per year now for the last 12 years in a row. So we do have problems. But the city is not intending to let the ocean just do its thing. The city is intending to not only build one seawall, and this is in the process, this is a done deal. We don't need to discuss it. They're not asking us. They're building one wall to protect a downtown that doesn't exist yet on Palmetto, and they're building another seawall down at the foot of the cliffs of Esplanade to protect crumbling infrastructure. And this is true, and this is in the public record, and everybody could check it because we just talked about it at the last city council meeting. This is what's actually happening. They would like to distract us about this big managed retreat discussion. There's no managed retreat going on in Pacifica. Don't worry about it. It's over, done. They're already building the wall. I mean, they got the plans, they got, they don't have the funding. Guess where they're gonna get that? Any guesses? Taxes, property taxes? Yeah.
I have stood firm on this topic for quite some time, even before it became this public. This topic has been in the city for quite some time. I was at the Little Brown Church 3 years ago when this topic came up, and we only had a room full of 50 people. So I'm glad to see that more people are looking at this issue and concerned about it and voicing their opinions. I am completely 100% firm against managed retreat. This word does not need to be in our sea level rise plan. The Coastal Commission only requires that we have a plan. I do agree, we do need to have a plan. But if that one word affects property owners and businesses, then we need to be more diligent in supporting our community and our businesses. That word should not be in the plan, period. I feel strongly that there is a conflict between Beach Boulevard development and Palmetto development. You can't say put managed retreat in a sea level rise plan and then put a hotel right on Palmetto. So I'm wondering if in the RFP we have informed these businesses that want to develop that we're looking at putting managed retreat in the plan. I do think we need to concentrate on economic development in Palmetto, and I do believe that we need to remove that. The city has already maintained that they're going to put a seawall up. Why not protect the homes and businesses while you're doing that? Not just the infrastructure. We have people and families that have worked hard in this community to keep those businesses, and we need to support them. The community put city council in office to support them, and people need to remember that. Thank you.
I am for protecting homes and businesses from, I'm for protecting homes and businesses from sea level rise and bluff erosion.
Your mic's not on.
Yeah.
It's dirty.
Yeah. Third time. I am for protecting homes and businesses from bluff erosion and sea level rise. And, there's been some discussion of what's in the sea level rise plan that's a component of the local coastal plan update. This afternoon, if you haven't had enough politicking, there will be more of it at a meeting. And the thing is that under the policies put forth this afternoon, there is no mention of managed retreat. So I just don't think that it's really an issue right now. And I do believe that protecting homes and businesses is sort of a more specific way of saying that what I will do. Regarding Beach Boulevard, I'm in favor of the hotel and the development thereof, and I've gone on record saying that I will pursue state or federal funding for a replacement for the seawall.
This is a tough question, but a lot of this, the question about this is the fact that the Coastal Commission is taking and exerting more and more influence over a law that was passed in 1977. I was the only candidate that just went down to the League of Cities conference and met with the, was a part of the discussion with the coastal group, and one of the biggest issues was the incursion of the Coastal Commission in local politics. Santa Barbara just did passed an ordinance for short-term rentals at Airbnbs and submitted it to the Coastal Commission, and the Coastal Commission, and they said, no, we don't want them. They came back, the Coastal Commission said, no, you will have short-term rentals. Okay, so that is a total intrusion into the private zoning, everything of the residents of the town. If the fact is if you put the certain cities or areas in a vulnerability zone, you are by government sanction saying that this is something that would happen. Where the coastal plan is supposed to be, local coastal plan is supposed to be 20 to 30 years in existence, we're mentioning something 100 years, 3% chance. You have a better odds at a crap table than that happening, okay? I'm not denying sea level rise. But in 30 years or 40 years, when it actually is a threat and you know more science, you know the trajectory of it, that's when you can plan for it. Now, my concern is if we take and we have people in these, quote, vulnerability zones, what is that going to do to the values of homes? Values of homes dictate property taxes. Property taxes is over 20% of the budget of the city of Pacifica. If the value of the homes go down, then the income to our general fund will go down. And if you don't think this will be a factor, 5 insurance companies have canceled writing fire insurance in Pacifica now. And that's because of the wildfires.
Yeah, I want to discuss that.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. So I have to be honest with you, I'm actually for keeping it in our plan right now for a few reasons. The first is, prior to my living in Pacifica and being here this morning, I was a weather woman. I was at Cron 4, and then I did the weather for the Monterey CBS Fox affiliate there, and then down in Santa Barbara for the CBS Fox affiliate there. And the science tells me that sea level rise is not just something that might happen, but that it's already happening here in our community. And so the science tells me that it does need to be included. Now, the second reason, and I know it could be up for debate, but if you've been following what's happened down in Southern California in Del Mar, their city council tried to keep it out of their plan, and then they were forced by the state to go ahead and re-add it, at risk of losing control over everything from the building of a seawall to any type of economic development. I don't think we're in a position to let those things go. We need control over those things. And lastly, I would say it's because when I knock on doors, we do have people that tell me that they do want to keep managed retreat in the plan. So irrespective of my own science, irrespective of what's going on in Del Mar, I, as an elected official, do not plan on ignoring the voices of the people. What I do think would be good at this point, because we don't have it, would be to have some type of a poll or a vote to find out what our accurate number of homeowners that are affected in that area, what they think about it, and right now we don't have those numbers. I would be an advocate for getting those things and then moving forward, but I just want to be completely honest that that's the way that I'm leading at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I always get confused at this point. We've done, start with Mary. Okay, gosh, I'm already on to question 3, and here it's question 2, and I've grouped some cards. How do you propose to stimulate Pacifica's economic base and tackle the city's budget deficit? Here are related questions. How to correct our growing imbalance between income and outgo? What is the city's most important financial issue? How do you propose to resolve it? Do you support development? How can you save the city from bankruptcy? And what are your ideas regarding increasing our tax revenue?
Red light district.
Okay, those are all very big questions. So I believe that we need to support development and projects that will bring revenue into our city. You know, we have an opportunity to do that with the Beach Boulevard project. It's the perfect place to create a destination area. And downtown models, they can define our community and they can create a destination area again, right? Where people who are staying in the hotels will actually have a vibrant, lively place to eat and to shop. So we need to make sure that we have development and projects that will support that downtown area, and we have an opportunity to do that with Palmetto. I also think that it's really important for us to look at the assets that are already here in our community. I know the Chamber of Commerce is recently working on a mapping project, and I'm really excited about that. I think we need to use all kinds of media and marketing to promote everything that's on that map, to promote our small businesses, and to promote the history of Pacifica. We have Pacific Coast Television, and they have a podcast booth. I think we should use that to support our local businesses and to bring eyes into our city so that we can bring more revenue in that way.
Hi, yeah, a real good example of Hello. A real good example of managed retreat, in my opinion, and I don't know what it means to anybody else. What it means to me is that we don't know what's happening with the ocean. We don't know what's happening with the climate. I think we can all agree with that. It's looking like we might get some surprises. It's good to plan for surprises, you know, especially when you see them kind of coming. But to not build a dam. I mean, can I just do a survey? Can I get a show of hands? I mean, does anybody think here it's a good idea to build a brand new downtown, including a 4-story hotel, in an area that could be flooding soon? Does anybody think that's a good idea? Yeah? Does anybody think we should rethink that plan? Does anybody think we should rethink that plan? It's a 40-year-old plan. They designed 40 years ago, 30 years ago, something like that, before we knew about climate change, when we were living in a time of prosperity. Things have changed. If we took those buildings that are sitting there now that we already own, and we already own the property, and we turned them into an oceanic discovery center, which would be so easy to do. The plans have been drawn out for 20 years. There's architects involved. There's people that wanted to give somebody $10 million a few months ago. This is a project that could happen, and it is in line with the idea that you don't build something new in an area that is possibly, quite possibly, subject to flooding. I don't know, do I sound crazy? Does that sound crazy? Because it seems like we could just not do that and we would already be ahead of the game. And talk about revenue, $20 million a year is estimated to come in from the Oceanic Discovery Center. And if we operated it like a public utility, we would benefit from that money.
So I'll go back to the original question, economic development and our deficit. So one way to create, I mean, a lot of people will talk about the hotels, but if we don't fill those hotels with things to do for the communities that come to visit our city, then they become giant paperweights. So we need to have activities here locally in our community to enhance our visitors when they come. That way they come back. Having a fancy hotel is only half the battle. People need to come, see our trails, see our beaches, come and visit the castle, go to our arts community, come and look at the players, the players that go to the Spinners players. which was a wonderful play. My Fair Lady, I'm telling you, you have to go and see that. This is what we need to do to bring economic development. Secondly, one way that we can increase revenue and stop increasing fees on our businesses is to bring tour buses to Pacifica. If you bring tour buses between 2 and 5 p.m. while our community is at work, drop off 40 to 50 people on Palmetto, in Rockaway, in Pedro Point, in the back of the valley, that's 50 people that are actually going to go to these businesses, go to these shops, create revenue, put them back on the bus at 5 o'clock, and out they go, and our community can have its community back when they come home. That way we don't have to worry about the traffic. That will help us with our 3% deficit that's growing every year. So I think that's a way to increase revenue, develop Palmetto, and reduce our deficit overall, long term. Thank you.
So I support responsible development and, for example, the proposed hotel on city property at Beach Boulevard. The developer will be required to sign, among other things, a waiver that says the city is not responsible in any way for whatever happens in the future with sea level rise. And I believe that we will find plenty of developers that are willing to do that. On the city finances, formally the city doesn't have a deficit. They have to balance the budget every year. We do have financial challenges, and we've had them for decades. Right now, the big ones are increases in the payments to the PERS retirement system, and that's $800,000 increasing every year, and the increases in salaries that we are in the process of negotiating with city employees. They will be paid for by several new sources of revenue. So we're going to expand the hotel tax on Airbnbs. We have the marijuana excise tax coming along, and the first application is coming before the Planning Commission next week. So I'll just stop there.
I support economic development in Pacifica. I have for many, many years. I support that we have a specific plan for West Sharp Park, including Francisco, Palmetto, and Beach Boulevard. That is the way that a developer will come in, or an investor will come in, look at it, propose businesses in there such as hotels, restaurants. It is also fair to the residents, and because they will know what we want, what might happen in their neighborhood. It will also develop ideas for housing, both affordable and market rate, as well as parking. So I fully support that West Sharp Park development and the need to plan for that. We need to plan for the 21st century, and that there is a different tax structure that's developing, and that is either service or internet sales, basically. So we need to work that way. I support the Beach Boulevard Hotel. I have personally sent that I was endorsed by the San Mateo County Labor Council, and I have sent the RFQ to the leaders in the unions in terms of trying to help them find union developers to work and build and put in a bid for that area and for that hotel. And I am positive on Pacifica. We face many challenges, and you have to be positive or you can be gloomy. I am positive on Pacifica, on what we can do as a community, what we can do when we put it together, what we can do if we plan it correctly and stick to the plan. That's the key issue here in Pacifica, is we have plans and they sit on a shelf for 20 years and they age. They aren't cheese. They're more like cheese. They will smell after 20 years, then they will be done and be a good plan.
Okay, so I wrote notes because there's a lot of questions in there. In terms of business development, I'm pro-business development. I do think we need to bring in more businesses. I'm very excited that we have hotels coming in, but I have to be honest with you, I do have 3 kids under 10. I would love to have a Kumon down the street or a Mathnasium and something that is more beneficial to my kids here first, as opposed to looking over them and trying to build businesses that are only going to be appealing to people that are out of town. I pay money here, I'm raising a family here. That has to come first. So I love the idea that we are bringing in these hotels and we'll have some businesses to support them and to bring in money from that, but I don't think it needs to be the only thing. I know that we have the marijuana excise tax that we're going to get. I know that we have 4 more that were approved to come in town, but I've been around to the 2 that are over here in Rockaway and they're having issues even getting signage up. You know, I don't know how long we're going to retain them here if they can't even have signs to promote their businesses. So they may not be a long-term plan to bring in money. What I'm really passionate about is, you know, I don't know if anybody is going to agree with me here, but we have a lot of people here that rent, and I think you have 2 distinct groups. I think you've got one group that might be on a fixed income, low to moderate income, that they are renting at maybe $1,500 to $3,000 a month. And then you have people like myself, admittedly, I live in the back of the valley, rents there are $4,000 to $8,000 a month. We're paying that on top of raising a family. Now in other communities, people who are spending $4,000 to $8,000 a month, that makes them, generally speaking, homeowners. I think we need to mobilize that second group, work with programs like HEART to get the threshold of money that they will give to first-time home buyers up, because $750,000 isn't going to go anywhere in Pacifica, and really try to flip some of those families into homeowners, keep them here, and get those 2018 property taxes that we really need to make the city thrive. Thank you.
Back to Sue.
Oh, it's always so great to go last when there's a big question and a lot of answers that have been given. So let me see if I can bring this together. I am pro-business. I am pro-development in Pacifica. I agree with, let's see if this works. I agree with some of what Annika just said. I think it's important for us to convert our renters into homeowners. The challenge is we don't have any homes for them to buy because we don't allow anything to be built frequently. Or we delay. We're careful. We're circumspect. And I'm not trying to be critical. We have amazing open space. 60% of our town is open space. It's not in danger of being built on. What we need to do is focus on infill development. And something that I think we need to do a lot of education about in our town is a term called multifamily housing. We have lots of single-family housing, and it's great, but we also need to Mike's point, think for the 21st century. So, housing businesses. What is the biggest problem facing the city? Costs. Costs and not enough money. It's kind of like when you're exceeding your household income. So we need to develop new revenue sources. We've talked about the potential for a hotel retail type development in the Palmetto neighborhood. I think that's really important, but I also want to look at revitalizing the Lindemar Center and the Eureka Square Center. Has anyone seen what's gone on at Pedro Point lately? That can happen everywhere in Pacifica. So I would like to see more of that, and I think that if we are careful in our planning, we'll be able to carefully address our problems in terms of funding our pension obligations and other city costs.
All right, question number 3 goes to Bridget first. Adonica anticipated this question. What can Pacifica do to address a regional housing affordability crisis? What can we actually do about the lack of affordable housing? And a more specific question about a possible city-owned lot in the Sharp Park residential area has been proposed for using RVs as housing run by the Resource Center. Do you support that idea? And how do you propose to solve the growing problem of homelessness in Pacifica?
Homelessness is being caused by the high rates of rent. And that is a fact. There's no question about that. In Pacifica, right above the seafood store on Francisco, last year a woman was paying $800 for a one bedroom. Pretty rundown, one bedroom. Their landlord raised it to $1,600 and she had to move. So she moved away, out of town. She had to go back east and live with relatives. The rent is now $3,000. If anybody in this room doesn't think that's unreasonable, then I'd like to talk to you afterwards and, make sure you have a pulse. Because you're not gonna get business to be thriving in an environment where people are paying 90% of their income in rent. Okay? We have a crisis. We could quell the crisis with something I like to call an anti-displacement ordinance. It's not rent control, it doesn't dictate to anybody what they can and cannot charge. But it says that our legal system will not support rent increases or no-fault evictions that put people out of this community. We have to keep what's left of our community together. It's a disgrace to the city what happened with the Measure C campaign. People who work for our government, who are sworn to protect our Constitution, lied to the people of Pacifica. There's people in this room lied to the people in Pacifica. They'll go to church tomorrow, but they lied and derailed a democratic effort to bring sustainable rents to Pacifica, and that's a fact.
Bridget, hold the mic, because this card just came to me. Give her an extra 30 seconds. This is related, and for everyone to address your views on ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Yeah, that was a brilliant idea. And they did, Pacifica passed a law that everybody that has a home and property can put an auxiliary unit in the backyard. Like a small, tiny home, cottage type of thing. I have a neighbor who's living in what used to be a garage. It's about the same size. And I have another neighbor who has grown kids, and he has this beautiful basketball court that he had made his kids when they were young. And I was like, you should put an auxiliary, unit there. You could make, he can make a lot of money, but he can also make a reasonable amount of money. And either one would be good. And it's a good idea. Everybody, we could create more housing like crazy.
I think the city should work with developers and with apartment owners to create an incentive for more affordable housing. It's working in Oakland currently. So the city of Oakland will pay a apartment owner's rent for someone that actually leaves for 3 months, so you have time to find a new tenant. This has increased Section 8 affordable and workforce housing by 60% in the last 2 months. The city of Pacifica could do something similar. Offer a tax break or some sort of incentive so that these developers, these apartment owners will actually bring that space and bring that affordable housing. I think we also need to make it easier for people to create in-law units. Because currently, a lot of you have gone through planning and that process takes quite a number of days or months or even years in some cases. We need to remove some of the red tape so that we can build these in-law units quickly and house some of these families. As far as the RV park is concerned, I believe it's a good idea. These people are homeless. I live right off of Palmetto. After the fires up north, I actually saw all of these campers come to Pacifica. They not only came with their families, they came with animals. They were basically just instantly homeless. And if we can support them, I'm all for that as well. Some of these people need our help. Can you imagine losing your home overnight? You don't know what to do, where to go. It's a confusing time. So if we're going to be a compassionate city, that's one of the things I think that we need to look into. But we need to provide those community services as well to get them back on their feet so they're not living in an RV. Not too many people choose to live in an RV. They need support. So we need to help our community here and those that arrive here. Thank you.
The housing crisis was created basically by the success of companies like Facebook, Genentech, Google, Apple, etc. And all of those companies are over the hill. They're not in Pacifica. However, many Pacifica residents commute to work at those companies. So, that's the situation. Now, if we can provide some more housing by ADUs, I'm all for that. I'm also in favor of the workforce housing that is proposed by the school district on the old Oddstad School project, which Mike O'Neill was involved in the first go-round. And finally, the RVs on the parking lot in West Sharp Park, that was my proposal at a study session. And the idea was that we could ban RVs from parking on our streets overnight if we have a place for them to park. And, my first choice was this parking lot, this city-owned lot in West Sharp Park. But, I'm open to other locations and, so please propose them.
It is a challenge. I mean, housing affordability is a big challenge, and I think as an unknown conquest, unintended consequence is some of the issues with the Coastal Commission. In October, they're having these things called residential guidelines for sea level rise. One of the provisions is if you improve your home, in the coastal zone by more than 50%, there's certain penalties you're going to have by doing that. And so the Coastal Commission is stopping the improvement and the accessory dwelling unit in Pacifica and any place in the coastal zone. So you have the state agencies wanting to improve this, and the other state agencies saying, don't do that, tisk tisk. All right, I am proud to say that I was the initiator of the workforce housing in Pacifica. I'm also proud to say that Assemblyman Mullen actually asked me about something that would speed that process along, and he passed a bill to eliminate the 7-11 process for school districts if it's in workforce housing. I also have talked to planning about a plan that San Diego has, and San Diego has a plan that if someone submits something for housing or affordable housing in San Diego, and if they go to certain architects, engineers, etc., that are approved by the city, they can go to step 3 instead of staying at step 0 and going through that process, which could save as much as 6 months as to getting this on there. I am for affordable housing. I am for workforce housing. This is a statewide, regional issue that needs to be addressed statewide and regional, as well as the RVs. Because I am very concerned that what's happening up in San Francisco will push those individuals down to Pacifica, and I don't want to live with medieval sanitary stuff with, excrement and everything on the street, needles. That's not our place.
So I know that there's already been a lot of great answers and commentary. I have to say that so far I'm in agreement with a lot of what Vicky has already presented, as well as Mike. Since I am on the commission for the healthcare for the homeless and farm workers, it's kind of something that I really want to address, so I'm going to focus on that with my answer. So a few things. We do have a homeless problem here of around 10 to 14%. It didn't just get this way. It's actually been something that was building for quite some time, and nobody really knew it. In addition to people being displaced, we now have people that are in our community assisting people in staying in some of these RVs. One of the things that's been brought to me on the county level is that there are RV slumlords that are renting out RVs for people to remain homeless in and charging them $1,500 or $2,000 a month for them to live in said RVs. In addition to the fact that it's troubling and they're taking advantage of these people, they're not really offering them any other kind of wraparound services or support to get them out of that predicament or that rut. Prior to working in the state, I worked for Raphael House, which is the first and the largest family homeless shelter in San Francisco. One of the things that really worked there for us was putting people on a plan. I would be an advocate for finding a way to do more frequent homeless counts, having some of these people register so that we can keep an accurate count of how many people are homeless in our city. Doing something in terms of like social housing, which is what has happened in other areas that have been impacted by tech booms, particularly in Dallas and in Portland, Oregon, and trying to find a way to have them stay here for 3 to 6 months. As long as we know they're in the city, they can use the address for those social houses to get benefits or to get work, because sometimes you can't get a job if you don't have an address and you can't fill out those applications. I think that that would be another way to kind of address these things. I think it's going to be an ongoing issue, certainly not one that's going to go away anytime soon, but I'm really passionate about it, and if elected, that's something that I would be prioritizing. Thank you.
I think you need to pass the mic down to Sue.
Hello? Yes, good.
Affordable housing.
What can we do about it? Well, Mike was the one who got the affordable housing project for our school district where I work started in 2011. And it's a model that's working, it's going forward, and it's not costing the taxpayers any money. So we're going to see, now that addresses Pacifica School District employees, and if they're renting a unit, that could address others, that could be roommates. So that takes some of the burden, but it's really addressing a very specific population. So I think we need to look at a similar type of project for Pacifica. I think that one area that we may consider investigating based on the demographics of our population is some kind of graduated level of care, some kind of program, some kind of housing that would allow our folks who have been here for 50, 60 years to remain here, to age in place, and maybe move out of that bi-level, split-level rancher that they really can't maintain any longer, but they're living in because it's affordable. So we need to figure out a way to do some kind of housing that would address the rest of our population. I do support ADUs. I think it's a great idea, but we've got to streamline city processes. It's a great idea that whose time has come and nothing's happening with it, because we need to streamline city processes to get things moving forward. RV park. Homelessness and RV parking and people being underhoused is a very significant problem, and it is a regional problem. It is not strictly a Pacifica problem. And while we need to address it ourselves, we need to work in a coordinated fashion, because as someone pointed out, if our ordinances allow RVs to park on the street overnight, Mr. Keener was talking about that, well, cities around us, those ordinances don't allow for that. So we need to address it regionally.
So I think first we need to support the social services that are in our community right now so that we can connect people to services to either find them housing or keep them housed. It's important for us to let the community know that the resources are there. Not working out well. I'll try to stand up here. Is it working now? Okay, good. Keep it close, I will. So it's really important for us to make sure that people are connected to resources in our community to get them housed and keep them housed. I also feel that there are models in other communities like community land trusts and affordable housing development, and we need capital in order to be able to build those kind of developments. We can start by supporting the workforce housing. I'm an employee of Jefferson Union High School District, and I'm really proud of the housing program that they have. They're going to be building 80 units of workforce housing up there to support our teachers and staff. We need to support that kind of model here in Pacifica. As far as the folks that are vehicularly housed, these are our families, our friends, our neighbors. We've been doing outreach to the folks in the RVs. They are people who have been displaced from our city. And I know we think that they come from other places and we don't want all of these people here, but they are our families and our friends and our neighbors, and we need to take care of them. We need to create a program so that they have somewhere to lay their heads at night, so they can be connected to services before we ban anything. I absolutely think we should have an easier process for accessory dwelling units. I also think that we have an opportunity to do some mixed-use development that has small businesses on the bottom and affordable housing on the top. And affordability, we also have to define. We have to have places for folks to live who are low income, very low income, and extremely low income.
So our fourth question starts with Vicky, and again, we've got a common theme and a batch of index cards here surrounding traffic congestion and road conditions. What Highway 1 commute congestion problems have you identified? Proposed solutions? Can the morning traffic jam on Highway 1 be minimized by using the tunnel stoplight? Complaints about potholes. I don't even need to list the roads. And then correct me if the premise is wrong, but I have a question that I believe is related. How would you have voted on the return of, and make sure this number is accurate, $56 million paid by our citizens to the county? And I presume that's about Highway 1 widening? Okay. I just didn't want to, I wanted it to be a related question, starting with Vicky.
Everyone here who's driven on Highway 1 knows it's a complete and utter nightmare. I don't think our traffic light study did us any justice. I believe that the money we originally had for Highway 1 widening should have been used to widen Highway 1 in some sense or fashion. But since that money has been returned, and there's probably no way for us to get that back, we have to think of other alternatives. Now this is going to be completely out of the box, but I want you to process what I'm about to say before you make your own decision. Highway 1 bottleneck is at Reno Del Mar. Can we agree on that? Because we have a lot of parents dropping their kids off at school, and that's where the bottleneck is. Now we can't widen the highway. Traffic light adjustments will not help. The problem is the school. During the summer, we don't have this problem. It's usually during the school year, unless we have really nice weather down here and there's a surf contest. If we move the school, think about it, move the school to maybe the back of the valley where a lot of these kids are actually living and their parents are dropping them off. It's a big project. It would cost money, but the long-term result is we would ease the congestion on 1. Kids that live in the back of the valley could actually walk with their older relatives or older brothers and sisters to this school. I have an idea where the school would go, but I'm going to save that for later. So if you stop and think about it, if that's our problem and we can't widen the roads, we can't adjust the street lights, we need to remove the issue, which is the school. So parents can drop their kids off in the back of the valley where a majority of these kids live. They can walk to school. The older relatives can walk to high school. And they can either bike to school. It's a very commutable area in the back. And then Highway 1 is open. So there's an idea that nobody has ever brought to the table, but I do want you to think about it because it can work. It's a big project, but if most of the community agrees, we can make it happen.
So I think probably everybody knows that I voted against the widening of the highway. And I ran on that 4 years ago. I don't think the traffic lights, the new digital traffic lights have had a chance to show any improvement in the traffic congestion because of mismanagement, basically. And then we got into the repaving project of Caltrans, which we love for the surface and we don't love for the traffic congestion problems, the additional congestion. That's true that in the summers when there's no school, we see no congestion. That says that those parents who are dropping their kids off are sort of the tipping point of, when we have congestion. They have as much right to the road as anybody else does, in my view. So, I don't know what the ultimate solution is. I do know that the congestion is not as bad as, 101. If that'll give you any comfort, I doubt it. On potholes and, street repaving, we have a limited budget to repave the streets. It consists of just enough money to repave a major arterial every couple of years. We're getting a little bit more from the state. And of course, I support filling the potholes as much as possible.
I think everybody knows my opinion on this. I voted no to send the money back to the county. It'll be over 20 years before we can get that opportunity for that. So even if alternatives are studied, it'll be 20 years before they get funded. And even then, are they going to be applicable? Because, things change in 20 years. The guy that sold us the signals actually said this is not going to work. It's a capacity problem. All Highway 1 Widening was right now, at both spots, the cars enter the highway into the traffic lane. What Highway 1 Widening was adding an ingress and an egress lane on both sides, on the side, so that cars turning into Highway 1 would actually be entering in a different lane and the traffic lane would be clear. That's all it was. And there was, of course, a breakdown lane and a sidewalk on there also, which did make it as wide as 280 myth. Okay, so in regards to school start times, the state mandates it. There is a bill actually on Governor Brown's desk to push start times for middle school and high schools back to 8:30 by state mandate. And that would further exacerbate our problem because the kids are still going to be dropped off at daycare or whatever before 8:30. So the solution, I'll be frank, I have no idea. I'm not a traffic engineer. We have no control over the traffic coming from Half Moon Bay and south, Montera. So we are a corridor. It's a state highway. We have to do the best we can. The traffic lights, the intelligent traffic lights are going to be back, I think it was November, December, something like that, are going to be back. And after the repaving is finished, they're going to put those back on. So relocating back to Onstad or back to Valley really doesn't flow because it just pushes the traffic back there.
I'm going to stand up because it's hard for me to see everybody. So this is actually a really interesting topic for me because my husband and I, we live on Terra Nova above the high school, and both of our children used to go to Valimar, and we kept getting notes from the district saying, what can we do to help you get to school on time? Because sometimes we would leave 20 to 30 minutes in advance and get there on time, and other times we'd leave in advance and still get there late. I think part of the issue is the policy that we currently have in place around school choice. I love school choice theoretically, but it also means that people are trying to go all over the city to drop their kids off at school, which in part contributes to the traffic issues. When I was growing up, I had the opportunity to walk across the street to get to class. I would be more in favor of that. Just trying to go over my notes to make sure I get all of the questions. I would have been in favor of highway widening. I know there's nothing we can do about it right now, and not necessarily to ease traffic congestion, but I think worst case scenario. I have a family. I live in the back of the valley. Something really bad happens, like what happened over in San Bruno with PG&E. There's no way for my kids and my family to get out of town, like at all. I spent last weekend at the fire department, and I talked to those guys, and they said, you know what, if there's seriously an emergency, there's no way all 40,000 of us, including potentially people that are over in Half Moon Bay, are going to be able to get out of the city. I don't know that the highway widening would, for me, it'd be all purely in terms of easing congestion, but for me, I see it as a safety problem, and so it is a little bothersome that I've got to wait 20 years and hope that there's a way for my kids, seniors, veterans, people who are disabled to get out of this town if there's a serious emergency. Thank you.
Back to Sue, Mary, and Bridget.
Okay, well, there is a traffic problem. It's a multifaceted problem, and it's true that in the summer, we don't have as much traffic because there's no school going on at Valamar, but there's also no school going on anywhere else. So, including Skyline, including San Francisco State. I mean, it's a minimal enrollment. So and a lot of people are on vacation. There's a lot of factors that go into that traffic. I love the idea of neighborhood schools. Unfortunately, our demographics in Pacifica don't support that. Our demographics are we have 3,000 school children, and that is why we've had to close schools. And the added bonus of closing those schools was that we were able to sell the land and build housing. So it kind of worked out in a certain way. But we do have people going all over town, and there's been a suggestion that, well, the school district just needs to put buses back in. They don't have the funding. We don't have the funding for that. So there could be a transportation solution. I think we would have to work with Caltrans and, Samcar and others to come up with a solution. I don't think the school district, which is underfunded, can address it solely. I think the SCOOP program in San Mateo County, which is a ride-sharing program, is one that we could look at and perhaps ask the county to fund with more incentive kind of funding, maybe some partnerships with some of the employers that folks have mentioned, where you get paid to be in a carpool. I mean, paid more than $40 or whatever. So I would like to suggest that we get a new mic.
Hey, you're the Rotary Club.
I know. I believe me, I talk about it all the time. All right. So potholes, I think we need to repair them, but we're going to have to work with Transportation Authority and others to get the funding. We need partnerships with our folks over the hill. Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead. Okay, I'm going to talk about something that hasn't been discussed yet, and that's getting people out of their cars and into a public transportation system that is affordable and reliable. I work currently with a coalition, a regional coalition, which is Team C, Transportation Equity Allied Movement Coalition, which is a group of about 28 organizations that are working to advance community-based transportation solutions. We have to get people into our transportation services, and right now we all know that Pacifica's public transportation services are not that good. But if we have transportation-oriented development where people can actually live and take transportation, we can get people out of their cars and into our public transportation system. I think through the coalition work, we've been working with Samtrans on the, it's Measure W, but through that work, Pacifica has a seat at the table so that we can have a say in how these transportation dollars, if and when they come down through the county, that Pacifica has a seat at the table so we can be a part of that conversation and possibly get some of those transportation dollars here. And 12.5% of those transportation dollars actually go to repairs and fixing potholes, which is a major thing of all the people that I've knocked on doors, potholes, potholes, potholes. So there is an opportunity to get some of those transportation fundings moving forward. I also think that we can encourage families to use the public transportation system. Maybe we can work with Samtrans to have like free youth passes to get people onto the bus system. So thank you.
Hello. Yeah. So yeah, everybody had great things to say. The schools, actually, I did a little study on this because what's with the traffic? What's with the traffic? Everybody has flex hours these days. A lot of people work from home on their computer. You would think that the traffic conditions would at least change their time period, but no, or dissipate altogether. But it's the school hours that are still causing the 9 to 5 grind kind of traffic conditions. One of my ideas was, and I did talk to the head of, what is that organization for children? After school program, Boys and Girls Club. We have a great Boys and Girls Club organization in San Mateo County, and I suggested that they put campuses on all the school grounds so that children could be dropped off at any time, before or after, so that parents wouldn't be stuck to the 9 to 5 schedule. or now soon to be 8 to 5 schedule. Transportation is ridiculous in Pacifica. I honestly believe we would spend less money if we let everybody that wanted to get up to the BART, instead of take a car, drive an Uber, and then we would pay for it. Because what we are paying for, we are not getting anything for. It is almost impossible to get up to the BART. If we could change that, people would take transportation. I want to build a gondola. I know that sounds crazy, but it's not. The equipment would be very easy to put in place. It could be solar powered, wind powered. It would be an attraction. If we invested our own money in it, like a public utility, it would actually bring in a great deal of resource to our city. So I know it's far-fetched, but I think we should think about it. Gondola!
Okay, I'm really mindful of the time because I want everybody to be able to get their closing statements in, and we do have a contingency that's headed over to the noon sea level rise meeting at the community center. But I've got 4 cards here on the same subject. I think this can be a lightning round, so you don't need to take your full 2 minutes. Who gave you the most money in your political career? Who is your largest donor? What organization gave you the most money? How much money did, past tense I guess, you accept from realtor groups or the Sierra Club? John, have fun with that.
My largest individual donor was in the last election. It was a woman named Sandy Perry. She lives over on Vistamar, and she just supported me. And that was $1,000. In terms of organizations, I haven't accepted any money from organizations of any description this time. Last time, I think, boy, I can't recall anything last time either. And let's see, what was the last question on that?
Oh. So largest donor, what organization, money from realtor groups or Sierra Club, who gave you the most money in your political career? All
Yeah.
very related.
I obviously won't take money from realtors either because they're an organization. They haven't offered. And the Sierra Club has endorsed me, both campaigns, but they haven't offered me any money either.
So I guess if you go define political careers 20 years, I think probably my numbers are a little skewed, but by off the cuff, I would say the largest contributions I've gotten and over the entire 20 years has actually been from labor and unions. The largest to date in this election would be from Sam Carr, the realtors. I know they're trying to make up as the boogeyman in Pacifica. However, I'm proud to say I'm a realtor because I've lived here 30 years. I've coached soccer. I've served the community at the school level. So I don't think necessarily realtors are the evil people that eat children that they're made out to be, all right? So in the 20 years, my biggest supporter has been labor and labor unions. I have received donations from some other political entities in the county, but they've all been under the $1,000.
Hi, so I don't have 20 years of experience like Mike, but most of my support has also come from labor and from individual donations. I know I joined the race a little late, and so I didn't take any money from Sam Carr. They did have support, I think, for 3 fabulous candidates before I came along, and I think that's all.
Testing. Okay, who is my largest individual donor? A lovely gentleman by the name of Tom Thompson, who owns property here in Pacifica, and he wants to see it protected. He wants to see that there is not washing away of his individual property. The organizations that have supported me, I'm really counting on a few that I haven't heard from yet. Sam Carr has supported me, and I am with Mike. I don't consider realtors to be evil. I love my realtor. And no offense, Mike, when I sell my house, it's not going to be you. It's going to be Denise Aquila, who sold us our house 25 years ago and has maintained a relationship with us ever since, and helped us with other problems that we had in terms of housing investigation and research. The Labor Council has endorsed me, and I am very hopeful to work closely with building trades. I know that they like to support candidates, and guess what? Campaigning is expensive. It's crazy expensive. And so I want to do an effective job. I want to get my word out. We are a town of 37 to 40,000 people, depending on who you talk to. And to get to all of those voters, I know a lot of people, but I don't know 6,500 people that I can guarantee are going to vote for me. So I've got to get my word out. I've got to get the message out, and I certainly hope you all help me.
Thanks.
So all of my donations and loans have come from the community. I recently had a $1,000 donation from a lovely woman named Rosemary Pfeiffer. But I am proud to say that all of the funding that has come into my campaign has come from all of you. And so I want to thank you so much for that.
Hi, I've raised no money, I've received no money, I've spent no money. I'm doing this because I believe that the only way to get real representation into our government is to get real people into these seats of power. And in order to do that, I feel like I have to just do it as a citizen. I'm a busy woman. I take care of my mom. I have grown children that are not quite grown. I have 2 households that I tend to, and I don't have time or money, really to do this. So I'm doing it as much as I can as a citizen, and I'm encouraging other people to do so, because realtors may not eat children, but Mike O'Neill had an opportunity to sign a bill that was going to relieve people who were being threatened during the Measure 3 campaign. The realtors were threatening, or the landlords were threatening to raise people's rent if the council voted to let the measure go on the ballot. And Mike O'Neill had an opportunity to keep retaliatory rents from happening, and he didn't. And I have nothing against Mike O'Neill as a person or any other realtor as a person, but it was clear that he was working for the realty industry, not for the people of Pacifica, because the people of Pacifica have been pained sorely. People have died. My own mother is 91 years old. She has received $800 in rent increases, no, $1,250 in rent increases in the last 3 years. I basically told her landlord I would not take her out of her house, and that he could either reconsider or evict her at 91. He did back down at the last rent increase, but this is what we have to do. I'm not going to allow my mother to lose her life for somebody's greediness. That's a civil rights issue. We have the right to life, and they cannot trample on it.
My largest donor to date has been Sam Carr. And again, I agree with Mike. I don't believe our realtors will eat children. But I do want to thank Sam Carr for notifying the community about the sea level rise plan. And a lot of people say, this is fear, but I've been in this community 50 years. Sea level rise has been here before Sam Carr even showed up. So it's not fear. The community wants information. They want answers to questions. People are not scared, they're concerned. So the fear mongering needs to come to an end. Secondly, my donations have come from a lot of folks that are in this community that are retired. So I'm very thankful for that, because I know they're on fixed income, but they are highly involved in the future of this community. I've also received donations from a couple of the board members, because I'm on the board for the Boys and Girls Club of North San Mateo County, where I support a lot of the children here in the community. So I've gotten some support from them. I've been backed by Jerry Hill and Kevin Mullen, so no financial support, but
Those are good names to throw around. Thank you.
Okay, we got to wrap this up, but in deference, we have our elder statesman, Marv Morganti. Where's Marv? Oh, okay. Okay, quickly, show of hands. The Pacifica Historical Society is renovating a railroad car. Would you support a plan to locate it in a city lot adjacent to the museum? So I can ask who favors, who opposes, who will consider the issue. Who favors?
Are we raising hands and not talking about it?
Yes. Any opposition? Anyone who will consider the issue? Okay. There's your question, Marv. Okay. So now we're going to go to the closing statements. And I'm just trying to think. We started opening, so.
John just told me it's me.
Oh. Okay. Are we going with the closing, starting with Mike?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'd like to correct one thing Bridget said is yes, I did vote no for the emergency ordinance, but I did vote yes to put it on the Measure C on the ballot because I felt that was such an issue that the community needed to decide. So I voted no for the emergency ordinance, but yes to put Measure C on the ballot. I also would like to, I forgot to mention this pothole issue. I have one in front of my house and celebrate every holiday going out cleaning it out, and we've adopted it and named it. It's called the O'Neill Pit. But anyhow, I would urge all of you to vote no on Proposition 6. That will bring several $100,000 a year to Pacifica to fix the potholes on the state ballot. So please vote no on 6. I pretty much said my piece. I mean, been in office 20 years. I'm an old shoe. You know what you get when you buy it. They raised my 3 kids here in Pacifica, been active in the community, in the Library Foundation, the PTO, PTAs, the school board, Spindrift, and I think the Historical Society to a certain extent. I think that, my record speaks for itself. I'm pro-development. I want to see economic development. I don't think constant taxes is the answer. We have some fiscal challenges, but I am positive on Pacifica. We can fix Pacifica. We can fix the problems in Pacifica. We can make it the place we all want it to be for everybody, seniors and children.
So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I know it's a Saturday, you could spend your time doing any number of things. In closing, I'm a working mom. I am somebody who works for the state. It's been my privilege to work in government. I am privileged to go back and forth to Sacramento, to be in the room when money is being distributed, to be in the room when policies are being made, and have had experience working with assembly members and even going up to Sacramento to lobby with the ACLU. I feel that this opportunity to run for city council not, again, just represents the opportunity to set our city back on the right track, but even the opportunity to have this beautiful new vision for what we want it to be instead of coming in to right wrongs. I'm here to give representation to women, to working families, to moms, who want to consider our kids and how we are really developing this city. Families have been being pushed out of San Mateo County, including Pacifica, for quite some time now, and unless we do something to give them that voice and have a seat at the table and have those things represented, we may not have families here in the future if they can't afford it. Thank you.
As I stated when I opened, 25 years ago, my husband and I chose this community to raise our family. And we purchased a home, but like most residents, our investment in the community isn't just where we live, it's what we do. And so I got busy pretty early on fundraising for music in the schools and have been personally involved in raising about $500,000 for all levels of school music over the last 18 years. I have been a leader in the community, and I want to use the experience that I gained doing that to serve on city council. The leadership positions that I've held are significant, And I feel that the expertise is going to serve our community. I'm the president of the Lions Club presently. I've been the president of the CSEA Chapter 128 for 4 years. I'm the lead negotiator for all of the classified employees in that regard. I was the president of the Library Foundation for a number of years and led the measure that was not fully funded. Did not meet the threshold to be fully funded for a new library. I have a number of significant endorsements, and I'm very proud of them. State Senator Jerry Hill, Assembly Member Kevin Mullen, and County Supervisor Don Horsley are among them, as well as our former mayors, Marianne Neihart, Karen Irvin, Lynn Stone, Jenny Jaquith. School Board of Trustees for both Jefferson High School District and Pacifica School District, and a number of business owners in town, and a number of people in this room have endorsed me, and I'm very grateful for that. And I ask for your vote on or prior to November 6th. Thanks.
So I want to thank you all so much for this opportunity for me to be here before you today. You know, it's an honor to stand in front of you, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you. So thank you so much for this experience. I want to clear up a couple misconceptions about me that I've been hearing about. I am not anti-development, just so everybody understands that. I think we need development in our city. I am also not anti-cannabis. Even though I have experience in substance abuse prevention, it's part of our strategy to work with our cannabis retailers to assure that they have a successful go at their business. Who I am is a working class woman who has been here her entire life. I love this city. This experience has been so wonderful, and I've learned so much along the way. And you know, all I really want to do is serve my community. And I have a vision for that, and I thank you all for having me here today.
Hi. Well, all I have to say is, you know, I'm a renegade. Vote for me. I don't have a lot of faith in elections right now, to be honest. What I really would like to do is build coalition among the people of Pacifica. Currently, the city of Pacifica operates as if they're just on their own. They can do whatever they want. They get input from the people on a regular basis that I witness, and they don't do what we want. And this is the problem in America. The people own everything in this country. It's called a republic. Nothing is privately owned. Private entities, such as the realty and development industry or insurance industry or any of those industries, they don't have a right to this. They don't have a right to our money. They don't have a right to our politics. They don't have a right to our city. Okay? This belongs to us. And if we're gonna make a difference in this city, we're gonna have to start realizing, one, the people that have been in charge, look around you. Just look around. Don't vote for the people who have created what we see. What we see is a confused mess. There is money being spent on stuff nobody asked them to spend money on. Believe me, I've been there. And yet there's things that need attention that are being completely ignored. This is throughout our entire government, and it has to change. And I encourage everybody here, pay attention. Pay attention to what they're doing with our money. It's criminal.
Let's brighten this up just a little bit, shall we? So I want to thank you all for participating in this event. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the community. I hope to see you all down the street here at 12 at the Sea Level Rise meeting, where I would love to hear your voices once again. I have been over a 50-year resident of Pacifica. I currently work with Pacifica Beach Coalition. I'm on the board there, so I care about our beaches and our land, not just development. I also am on the board for the Boys of North San Mateo County, and I love to work with the children. So it's not just being a board member, but it's actually getting your hands dirty and working with these kids, helping them with their education, helping them with their after-school programs. making sure they have a meal to eat when they get out of school and maybe not have that meal when they get home. I was a former CEO for the Pacifica Chamber of Commerce, and I see a lot of business owners here that I've worked with and spoken with and helped support throughout the last number of years. So again, I appreciate your vote. I believe my skill set, my background will be brought to the forefront if I'm voted for city council. I can take a look at our budget, make sure that it's balanced, because it's currently not. I can take a look at our planning department to make sure that we look at our regulations and have something that fits this community going forward. It's not to say that planning's not doing our job, it's saying that our rules and regulations need to be updated to fit what we're trying to get done today. I will work with developers to make sure there's affordable housing brought here. And I just wanna, I wanna finalize by saying, I really appreciate everyone who has donated, supported me, and again, continue to support me all the way up until November. Thank you.
So I'm a fiscal moderator, and if I'm reelected for the next 4 years, my number one priority is making sure that Pacifica is still here as an entity, as a jurisdiction. That's not to say that we'll go bankrupt, but that is to say that we have to watch every nickel and where it goes for. I'm also an environmentalist. That hasn't come up much. I want to protect our parks and beaches and wildlife, including our Steelhead Run. I now favor a new library bond if Sanchez Library is saved, and I believe it will be. So look for that in 2020, likely. I've been endorsed by the Sierra Club and by the San Mateo County Democratic Party, and I thank them for that. And that's about all I have to say. I don't have to urge this crowd to get out and vote. I know you all will. So thank you.
So now would be a good time to thank these brave and generous candidates, because you all realize how much of their personal time this involves. And they have stepped up to fill 3 vacancies on our city council. So I commend them for that and wish them all the best of luck. So we got to about 90% of your questions. I apologize for anybody that was omitted. Mary Brown, if you still have questions, Mary Brown of our Chamber of Commerce will be moderating a city council candidates forum. Is it this Tuesday?
Tuesday at 6:30 at City Council Chambers.
Okay, so let's all go and support that event too. Okay, I'll let you guys out of here very quickly. Our next meeting of the club is on October 20th. And we have invited the police chief of San Mateo, Susan Mannheimer, and we've also invited our Pacifica police chief, Dan Steidel. So hopefully that is on October 20th, and as I already mentioned, we're going to host State Senator Jerry Hill at November's meeting. So we always look forward to Senator Hill's appearances at our club. Please, would everybody's waving money at me. It's not because I'm so great in there. Anyway, and this is for our wonderful server floor. And as my husband said, we're Democrats, we tip. And we'd also like to thank Steve, who has been patiently videotaping this event. For the Pacifica Coast TV, Community TV. So I think that's it. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay, adjourn. And thanks again to everybody in attendance.
All right.